Today's the day, everyone. It's the Champions League semi-final. It's PSG versus Arsenal versus PSG, should I say? Because of course the first leg today is at the Emirates. I'm going. I cannot wait. I'm so lucky to be going. I can't wait to be. I'll be singing my heart out as Mikel Arteta's asked us. What's he said? Bring your shirt, bring your boots, bring everything. Be ready to kick every ball with us. And I absolutely will be. I'll be there with my brother. I can't wait. If you're watching this, you're going there as well. I can only encourage you to make as much noise at the Emirates as possible. We'll talk about that at the end of the live stream too, and the atmosphere and what I'm expecting from the occasion. But of course, wherever you are around the world supporting in this big Goonerverse of ours, just those players will be playing every minute and just every moment of that game, knowing that there are big eyes on them and big pressure, but in a good way, and an exciting pressure, a pressure that we are all as a club, and by as a club, I mean the players, the staff, the fans, we're all kind of experiencing as one together. Our first Champions League semi-final. Remember the last time we were? It was 2009 against Manchester United. I remember getting battered away at Old Trafford. It was a 1-0 defeat, but we were absolutely battered. Manuel Almunia, who typically wasn't a very good goalkeeper, actually had a very good game for us that day. If I remember correctly, we should have lost by more. Went to the Emirates thinking, okay, it's only one. We'd beaten them 2-1 with a great Nasri goal. We remember that gets played when people are often referencing Wenger ball. And I remember thinking, okay, we've beaten them once at the Emirates. We can go and do this again. And we didn't. We lost 3-1. It was a disappointing way to go out. It's a very, very different Arsenal. And it's such a long time ago. I mean, this club has changed so much, not always in the way we've wanted to, but it's had up since then, like the FA Cup wins, 4 since that time. Arsene Wenger winning 3 of them. Obviously, Mikel Arteta in his first half season winning the FA Cup. But then we sort of dipped down the table. We've had the Unai Emery era. We've had big players like Alexis Sanchez, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang come and go. And now we've got this group of players that I think we all love and trust and are fully behind. The question has just always been, what are those missing ingredients to get us over the line? And tonight is a massive part. Let's get rid of my name there. No one needs to see that. Tonight is a massive part of... I know it won't go away. Brilliant. Well, you're just going to have my name there throughout the stream. Tonight is a massive part of Arsenal trying to change the narrative around being a team that, they're competitive. They're there. Cool. You haven't lost a Big Six team in ages. Cool. You've been competing with Man City somewhat. Cool. You're second in the league, even when you haven't had a particularly good campaign. Yes, all these things are absolutely true. But the question is, can you get over the line? And it's funny because in football, it seems to be being a very good side that doesn't get over the line these days merits as much criticism as being a Tottenham or a Man United languishing between 14th and 17th. And I'm genuinely serious. There's as much conversation about what we're doing wrong as there is about these others. Or sometimes it feels anyway. Maybe in our own Goonerverse it feels that way. But I'm certainly, hopeful, excited, and genuinely believing this is a team that can deliver something of a special moment, something of that moment that gets you over the line and actually just sort of cements you with those kind of other teams. We've often talked about us being competitive with Liverpool and Man City over the last 3 years, but those guys have trophies to show for it. This year, Liverpool have obviously lifted the Premier League, but remember last year they lifted the Carabao Cup too. They've gone to Champions League finals, I think 3 in the last 10 years, winning one of them. Man City have been lifting trophy after trophy, and we want to separate ourselves from the kind of the pretenders. We don't want to be a Tottenham under Pochettino. Good side. Remember, they played good football. They got to the Champions League final. They compete for the title every now and again. But, what have they got to show for it? We don't want to be that. We want to be a team that deliver. And this group here, I believe, are really feeling that. So I think we've got to just enjoy the moment, go and just really, what's the word? Live it a little bit. And in this stream, I've been rambling for nearly 5 minutes now, but in this stream, I just want to talk about the tactics of this game, what we kind of learned from the first one we played PSG, what I've learned watching them. I don't know if I've watched as much of a team outside the Premier League as I have PSG. And it has tended to be in the Champions League, but because they've had such an interesting Champions League story themselves, from nearly going out of the competition to needing to beat Man City in that massive game in the penultimate sort of league stage game, league phase. It's the penultimate game of the league phase, what I'm trying to say. They needed to win. They were 2-0 down at the Parc des Princes. It looked like Man City had turned a corner and sort of clicked eventually, but PSG then did something incredible to pull themselves back into that and actually win the game. Since then, they've been masterful against Liverpool. I think they were mostly masterful against Villa, but obviously fell away. And now it's Arsenal, a team that they have actually already played. So yeah, this is going to be really, really interesting. Welcome to all of you. People ask if I'm at Box Park. No, I won't be, Taj. Apologies. Nothing's really loading for me. Apologies. Let me just see if I can just fix the branding stuff here, because it's going to annoy me. It's just yeah, the way I am. Let's see now if your comments come up how I want. Right, Taj, will I be at Box Park today? No, I won't be. I'll be at the game, which I'm very, very excited about. So yeah, but I will be next week. The focus will always be Arsenal, because Arsenal gets some clicks and views. Spurs could get relegated and they would still be louder about us finishing second. Yeah, probably true. Someone's drilling. Can you hear that? Sorry if you can hear some drilling coming through on the microphone. But yeah, I guess works are going on around me. Thank God you went live. Just had to listen to a Chelsea fan downplay our Champions League run for 25 minutes. Fair enough, Xavi. Look, I will say is the rivals will say what they want, and there's a lot of narrative around, well, does what we've achieved, does what we've done in terms of this run kind of matter if you don't win it? And I believe it does. I think those memories you have, where you were, Box Park for me, when Rice scored those free kicks, winning a Champions League will cement those as iconic moments for the club. But in terms of my memories and my experience of that, for everyone in that stadium, I mean, you can't take that away from people. People enjoy football for the results and the moments and the occasion as much as they do actually what it ultimately leads to. So I think you got to just enjoy everything. The Champions League has been something that has given us great joy this season, from beating PSG to generally good results. Even the draw at Atalanta was all right. That we played all right at the San Siro against Inter Milan. Look what we did against Sporting. Look, we did away at PSV, and now what we've done in both legs against Real Madrid. So in this competition, a competition that Arsenal are known or typically labeled as having no, what's the word, heritage, history, know-how when it comes to this competition, we've navigated it really, really well. Max, I know you're jealous. We were chatting earlier, weren't we? Bless your heart. But I hope you're good, my friend. Everyone show some love to Max in the comments. Good to see you, mate. Stanko in the comments. Good to see you. And Tom saying, hi, James. Saw you at Waterloo Station 2 weeks ago. Good to see you, Tom. You'll probably see me running through that later. Hi, James. Much love for the content from New Zealand. Much love from New Zealand. Love the content, by the way. Thank you, Zarban. I really appreciate it. Well, look, guys, let's go into the meat of all this then. You say, yeah, I've worn caps before. Do you know what? It's a sunny day. I've been out and about. Yeah. There we go. The cap's on. I need to shave as well. There we go. I need to get match ready, man. Anyway, that's later. Okay. Let's talk about, I'm going to put the comments away for a second and we'll come back to your super chats. But I want to talk about what we do know in terms of some positive news. And this is the start of it. Mikel Merino and Ben White have returned to training. That's confirmed by obviously AFTV with the pictures there. Got Mikel Merino in training there. Zach Kieran Tierney with him. Ben White there, Leandro Trosard and Jakub Kivior. Martin Odegaard, how we need a big game from him. Mikel Arteta looking happy. It's been a sunny day in North London. No doubt they'll have enjoyed their training. They'll be ready to go. I've got no doubt. Lewis Skelly, I think, and a few players were... no, it's Odegaard. I think the Arsenal social media team, so as the players were kind of arriving, they basically, were being asked questions. And I think one word to describe the camp was a question thrown at Martin Odegaard, the team, the training camp. How's everyone been? What's the feeling? And he said, ready. He's coming with, the big words. We are ready to go. Mikel Arteta, we will touch on this in a little bit because he is absolutely sending a message out to everyone. Make noise at the Emirates. Now, I want to talk about a few things. Let me just refer to my notes very quickly. Yeah, right. Let's go to the tactical pad then. You have to bear with me for 1 second. I just want to present this properly to you all. And you should have this in front of you. Can you see it? And let's move myself down here. All right, there we go. Tactical pad taken over. Okay, so these are my predicted 11s for both teams, but I've also got in there what I want to see in the knowledge that Jorginho is unlikely to make the game. Now, a couple things to point out. If Jorginho had been playing, I think there's a major temptation to have him here. Major temptation because Arteta loves, we're just going to put Trosard there for a second. He loves familiarity in profiles. He loves people being able to come in and just do the job they've got to do. Declan Rice ran all over both PSG's midfield in the first game against them at the Emirates that we had in the league phase, but against Real Madrid. And Mikel Merino is the closest thing we have to what Kai Havertz does in that position in terms of being a physical profile, but we know that Arsenal as well. Let's just how would they be out of possession? I'm not 100% sure. That's one thing. I was more sure about what Real Madrid would do PSG out what Real Madrid would do out of possession. PSG, I'm not so sure. But let's just put them in a 4-5-1. I mean, again, I don't know if they'll quite look like this, but we know that Arsenal want to get there. They want to always create this box midfield at times. They want their wingers wide. We know that, but Marino will drop in. Declan Rice will sometimes run beyond because Mikel Merino can drop back. I think if Jorginho's starting, I think you get this from Arsenal. Lewis Skelly inverting, we know he'll do that. Saliba and then Timber sort of running up and down the pitch, but often tucking in build up as well. You're going to have something that looks a little like this. Like I said, Rice can often run beyond Marino. I was really amazed in the Palace game how often Rice was popping up in the central, basically striking positions. So you can have something like this from Arsenal. Again, it's not completely balanced in terms of, 3-2-5, but we know that, Timber doesn't, he picks his moments to get forward. Lewis Skelly picks his moments to invert. Declan Rice picks his moments to stay alongside Jorginho or bomb beyond. So I think if Jorginho were playing, you'd see something like this. The reality is that I think that one player missing, Jorginho, I think makes a massive, massive difference to how Arsenal will set up for a lot of the game. Now, assuming Jorginho is not available, we take him out. Declan Rice is your 6. Now, the easiest thing to say is, well, okay, Marino will bomb forward. He'll get in that pocket. Lewis Skelly will invert next to Rice, and that's what you got. Now, to be fair, in Lewis Skelly here, in Mikel Merino here, in Rice here, that's a lot of physicality in the centre of the pitch to try and overrun what is a... Listen, they don't lack physicality. They can get about. They've got bags of energy, Neves, Vitinha, and Ruiz. But I feel like you can dominate them physically, and Arsenal did do that in the first leg. You feel like with Lewis Skelly, Rice, and Marino, Arsenal would certainly do that out of possession. Arsenal don't just press. They don't just invert the fullback when they want to. When they want to get on the ball, they are capable of stepping onto players and still having a player like Lewis Skelly inverted. They're happy to go man for man like this. I mean, Arsenal might well do that. If they're feeling really brave, they might well do this. With Lewis Skelly getting tight to Neves, even in the centre of the pitch. Let's try to show you with some annotating. Here we go. I think you might get some of these matchups throughout the game. Why? Because simply... Oh, sorry, that's my speaker turning off. Why? Simply because Arsenal have done this before. I remember we beat Liverpool 3-1 last season, and Carragher did a really good piece of analysis on inverting the fullback on the press too. So it depends how aggressive Arsenal want to be, but that would be very, that would be bold. That would be really bold from Arsenal. Oh, that's not what I'm trying to do. There we go. Let's get rid of all that. Now with Rice, let's talk about in possession though. With Rice in the team, and we'll just drop everyone back a little bit. Excuse me. With Rice in the team as the 6, Lewis Skelly inverting, Marino in that position, I think you're more likely going to get something like this throughout the game. Where Lewis Skelly will tuck in a little bit, I think you're going to see a lot of almost a 3-3-4. I think you're going to get Ødegaard dropping in here a lot and Marino coming into this space. I think we're going to see a lot of this from Arsenal. Couple reasons. Firstly, I think... with Rice not doing in possession what Partey does, and I always say this, he's better in possession than people give him credit for. Let's give him a football. Rice is better in possession than people give him credit for, but he's not Thomas Partey. I think without him, I think Lewis Skelly is going to tuck in to sort of be another outlet to play through them. But the other thing I think we're going to get is Ødegaard, who so often we saw it literally from the mistake against Palace. I think he'll drop in here too. And I think they're going to try and get the ball to Ødegaard so that they can move it out to Saka quite quickly and isolate Saka one-on-one with Mendes. Why? Because yes, these players work hard. Yes, it's a different PSG team, but I think they're going to find that they're actually either going to draw them back, which is brilliant, that negates a big part of their threat, or they're not going to come back, in which case you've got Saka one-on-one with Mendes and they've had great battles already. Now, why do I put Marino here, almost in the front line over Ødegaard? Well, I think Arteta's been doing this, getting the likes of Rice and Marino to be his runners in beyond and actually have them higher up the pitch and settle possession more so than Ødegaard. But I think the other thing is, I think it means that you get that kind of between Trossard and Marino, you kind of get that combination. We saw it worked really well against Ipswich. But get that combination that's worked well between Trossard and Havertz, which is basically one going, one staying, one always occupying the centre backs, one pulling out wide, one dropping into midfield, and they're constantly alternating and understanding. And Marino will sort of be running in from deep, occupying centre backs, gives a target man in the box too. I think it also means that you've got, listen, Marino and Rice in these areas in possession. I don't really love that for build up. I much prefer Ødegaard and Lewis Skelly there too. And I think you're going to get Marino. Yeah, and Trossard both dropping in pockets, but giving Marquinhos and Pacho very different problems. We talk about, do you want Marino there because he kind of needs one chance and he's a presence and his box movement's brilliant and, there's someone to aim for there? Or do you want Trossard because in this area of the pitch, on his right foot, dragging it onto his left, finding the corners, he can kind of do that better. But I actually think Arsenal might have a little bit of both in this game. So I think Arsenal in possession will look a lot like a 3-3-4. And honestly, we haven't really seen that much of it. I think we've seen it more. Do you remember Palace away when Lewis Skelly first came in? We saw Kai Havertz moving almost to the tip of a diamond like this. But was it? Yeah, Havertz, and it was Jesus. So it'd be Havertz here, it was Jesus here, we had Lewis Skelly and Ødegaard like this. I think it'll be something similar like that, but it won't be quite Marino and the diamond. I think he'll be sort of bombing forward and making it a 2. And Arsenal have had a bit of joy against PSG with a 2 up top, as we saw in the first leg, because actually Havertz and Trossard playing together in that game too. So this is how I kind of see Arsenal setting up on the ball. Off the ball, it gets interesting because firstly, is it Barkley and for Kvaratskhelia, Dembele or Doué? I think it's probably Barkley or Doué. I think those are the two battling out. So let's put them there. Now, Arsenal, I've said many times, are one of the best teams in the world. Actually, I think we're the best team in the world when it comes to fluidity out possession. Now, what scares me, in fact, let's just pick one. In fact, I think he's going to go for Barkley. So let's go Barkley out here on the right. What scares me about PSG is, yes, we have great rotations out of possession. They've got phenomenal rotations in possession. So if we just move their players up the pitch slightly, apologies, everyone. This isn't quite as fluid as when I'm doing it on a touchscreen iPad. I'm doing this all on my phone. Okay, Arsenal out of possession. Look, forget Marino getting up front with Trossard there. Out of possession, we know will look like this. We've got Saka coming all the way back. I know this is really slow. Everyone, apologies. Trossard will probably drift across. And you've got Ødegaard there. Cool. When Arsenal will get into that 4-4-2 shape out of possession. Now, what worries me so much about PSG is how often, let me just check whether everything's still running smoothly on this live stream. Yeah, all good. Yeah, comments are coming through, all good. So there's no audio issues. So I've had that before. I've been live and audio issues have taken over and I've been waffling for ages and not even realized. So cool. Let's get back to this. So in possession, what worries me is actually how much they're so willing to, and I want to show this in a different color. Let's show this in yellow. Yeah. They are so happy to just completely dominate these channels. And I actually think Arsenal are quite good at dominating in wide areas, but they do it with so much creativity and versatility to their play. And the thing is, even though the technicians in Neves, Vitinha and Ruiz are here, sure, it's more the fluidity of this front three and it's the fluidity of these fullbacks. I've been so impressed by them. I couldn't believe what they're doing to Liverpool, especially in the first leg, and what they did to Villa as well. And the reason this makes them so difficult to play against is because there'll always be someone occupying these areas. And that is really, really going to force Arsenal to want to sort of protect those areas. Maybe a Declan Rice comes across, maybe a Mikel Marino comes across. And that's where they find space in these central areas. So if you've got Barcola and Kvaratskhelia coming really far forward, we have seen Hakimi and we have seen Mendes happily blitz into that space. And then what they might have is a 2-3-5, but those runs are constantly being made. They are such a threat. I think they scored a goal against Villa where Mendes made the run and then just basically cut it back to Hakimi, who then just found that corner. I mean, they are so brilliant at getting forward there. So they play a little bit like, and I hate to give them credit, they play a little bit like Tottenham's fullbacks, or like Tottenham's fullbacks did last season. But the other problem is that they have no problem going on the outside, and they have no problem getting Barcola, Kvaratskhelia and Dembele a little bit closer. You got technicians in Ruiz and Neves, and they can just really flood this middle of the pitch. And then you've got Hakimi and Mendes going forward. So the question is, do Martinelli and Saka just do a job on Mendes and Hakimi each to ensure that Arsenal can keep a really tight four and they can maybe man mark Barcola and Kvaratskhelia a bit more? Or what happens when Mendes makes that underlapping run? So when Mendes makes that run, is Saka going to follow him all the way on the inside? Now, against Man City away at the Etihad, when we drew 0-0, I think Saka did a lot of that really, really well. But I don't know how these different combinations are going to test Arsenal's fluidity out of possession against PSG's fluidity in possession. They can do lots of different things. They can even sometimes just have Mendes and Hakimi a little bit deeper, and then you've got Fabian Ruiz making runs beyond, in which case Rice is going to have to keep an eye. But they will be dangerous in these wide areas. Whether it's through overlapping fullbacks or underlaps that come from them because the wingers are wide. I'm really nervous about them, and that's not even kind of the main bit. You've even got, I've put Dembele here, but it will be Kvaratskhelia at times. And Dembele, so Arsenal going to have to be really switched on constantly all the time. Like, am I picking him up, or am I, is Timber following Dembele when he makes that run inside? Or does he get far enough in there and then the ball, is maybe past Dembele to Vitinha, back to Ruiz? At some point, Timber's got to leave him to come back out to Ruiz because Saliba's got to move on the inside. There's just going to be, and pick up Dembele. There's going to be constant communication. Right, he's now entered your zone. I'm going to leave him here. So I want to pick up this guy. And I think Arsenal do it brilliantly. But against Real Madrid, I think it was a lot about, yes, defensive organisation, which were brilliant, but it's going to be heart from the players as well. It's going to be wanting it. It's going to be fancying that battle against Vinicius and against Mbappe and all these players. What concerns me about this game is I think PSG will have a lot more tactical fluidity, understanding than Real Madrid had, and they'll do things with much more intention and patterns, which I think will make it a little bit more, will make it harder to stop, because I think PSG will do things quicker. I think they'll move the ball pick quicker. I think they will play those combinations better because they know what they're trying to do. Whereas I think Real Madrid were more so almost kind of making it up on the spot and hoping that their quality would come through, and hoping that sort of the freedom of letting them play was going to be enough. I think PSG will have a lot more, and Arsenal will have to really have a proper understanding for who's tracking who. When they get into these wide areas, they're happy to let them have it. They're going to invite a cross into the box. Arsenal, they're going to invite PSG to whip the ball into the box, or are they going to get out to them really, really quickly, get Martin and Lewis Skelly to double up? Will Saka and Martinelli be really tucked in on the inside to follow the fullbacks, or they be out wide to make a back four, back five, back six? All these things will be really, really interesting questions. And I think Arsenal, against Real Madrid, Arsenal sort of dominated a lot of the ball, especially in that second half. They really got control of it. It wouldn't surprise me if actually Arsenal in this game were less possession than PSG. And I think that's how we ended the first game. So let's take your comments, get your thoughts, and then we'll go back to some other stuff that I want to show you as well in what remains in the sort of last 7-8 minutes of this. Yeah, just realized how good Ruiz was for Spain. Top players everywhere. Absolutely. Very, very, very true, Ash. Score predictions for tonight, guys. Asks Max. I've gone for a 2-1 Arsenal win. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, in the comment section, in the live comments. They break quickly. We need to be alert. Totally agree with that. Exactly. Hakimi's got 20 GA this season. I mean, if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know. Rice will be huge at helping Timber. Kvaratskhelia is a 1v1 monster. I completely agree. Mendes and Hakimi have been scoring goals. Absolutely. Arsenal Fanatics thinks we're going to win the first leg 3-1. And Ryan saying all the right things. Come on, people, hit the like and subscribe button. Guys, if you're enjoying this stream, please do hit the like and subscribe button if you're enjoying this kind of content. Steve says, I feel like without Havertz and Jesus, we'll have a bigger goal threat. So those injuries actually have a silver lining. I think Trosard and Marino are better finishers and need less chance to score goals. Let's hope I haven't jinxed that, touch wood. But, Havertz and Jesus are more masters of that position. Their movement, I think Jesus' trickery is still unmatched in this team when he's at his very, very best. So, yeah, obviously we'd like to have them. What else have we got? Hey, some cool. I see Ryan and Max chatting in the comments, which is great to see. It's practice waking up. Suj, what time is it in the morning there? Actually, was it maybe it's nearly 1 a.m. there? I might be wrong. 1 a.m. midnight, Suj in Brisbane. Let me know. Marino is Spanish. The build-up's actually good. Look, Marino's a very intelligent footballer. I don't think he's brilliant in terms of his guile and build-up and all that. I think he's good. Being Sarangi. Hey, James, fellow Gooner creator from India. Love your content. Come on, you Gooners. And do you know, Being Sarangi, I came across your channel the other day. I did. I was having a little look. So, yeah, everyone go subscribe to Being Sarangi. and his YouTube channel. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, man. I really, really appreciate it. Generally, I came up on my home screen. You know, YouTube will just suggest content, and it popped up, and I was like, oh, well, let's have a little look. 'Cause I'm always interested in what people are doing out in the content space. And yeah, everyone go subscribe, and thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, what else have we got? Games at 3 p.m. for me. That's Rohan. So does that mean you're in the US, in Canada? Where are you, Rohan? 3 p.m. Yeah, so going backwards. So let's think 8 p.m. kickoff. So I'm going to guess New York. Rohan, I'm going to guess New York. Let me know where you are in the world. Just trying to do the math there. What else have we got? Wackles Football says, I'm so nervous. Also got a very good YouTube channel. Go check out Wackles Football, doing a podcast with Forder, I believe, as well. So everyone go check that out as well. I love this, man. Everyone tuning in. I love to really, really appreciate it. Ash says, James, rank the PSG midfield in terms of ability. It's Vitinha, Ruiz, Neves for me in that order. Yeah. I don't know. I think they're all brilliant, but yeah, I'll probably agree with that order. Just, but I think we're talking 1% in it with all of them. I think you're probably going 34%, 33%, 32%. But yeah, all right, everyone, let's go into some more stuff I want to talk about very quickly. Present. Let's share. I'm sharing the right. Okay, hold on. I need to stop sharing this. Cool. Share my screen. Okay, let's talk about this. Can you all see this? Yeah, you can. Right, so this sofa score. Pick up the sofa score. What I want to show you here is just some interesting stuff from the last time we beat them. It's very like overview stuff. There's nothing kind of too dramatic here. I won't be going on too long about this. But it's just very interesting how Arsenal very much resembled a 4-4-2 in this game. Obviously, Partey and Rice together, Odegaard missing. Again, we're not going to have this thing. It's going to be more, Rice and Marino together. But like I said, I think it'll be Odegaard dropping into this space and Rice playing in Partey's role, Marino coming forward. So we've played games with Trosard against PSG this season. We played a game against them, and he played very well. I remember he was very, very good in this game. So I don't think we should be worried about Trosard playing in this game. He's literally done it before. But look how much his PSG team has evolved. Zaire-Emery, do not expect him to start tonight. That is the back four and goalkeeper I expect. But again, Doué, Barker out wide. You could change all three of these positions. I think it'll probably be Dembele down the middle with Kvaratskhelia on the left and Barcola or Doué on the right. But I mean, I think almost all three of those positions will be completely different. And, Lee in that sort of false nine role didn't really work for them. They couldn't impose themselves in the game. So I expect a very, very different prospect. And I think they've got much better at playing down the middle of teams. I know they focus a lot on their football out wide. I think that's where their main threats are. But it creates space in the middle for them that they can exploit, as you saw with that goal against Aston Villa to make it 3-1 in the Parc des Princes. And I think I really want to show here was that, look, Arsenal were dominant despite having less of the ball, 35% possession, because a lot of that second half was seeing the game out. They can look at a lot of these stats. You can stop and look at the shots. I recommend you all go to SofaScore to look at this stuff. I do think it's really, really interesting. Shows you the goal we scored and the goals there. That was obviously from Saka's free kick that went in and a few other bits and bobs. Not sure what this is. Not sure what that dotted line means. But what I wanted to show you was how much Arsenal did two things. A, attack down the right. Which is why Bukayo Saka being available is huge to us. I think he's really going to come down this side. I think Trossard's going to want to help here as well, which is why I had them in the 3-3-4 build-up shape. I think Arsenal will try and dominate down the right-hand side again. But the other big thing I wanted to show you was how Arsenal completely dominated in duels. And you can see it here. Winning 53% of duels. PSG would dispossess 14 times more than Arsenal's 11. But look, we won on ground duels, aerial duels, and dribbles too. When you then look at the defending stats, Arsenal all over them. And I remember Luis Enrique saying at full time, was a very humble, kind of modest post-match. He said, look, Arsenal were just better. They were just, they ran all over us, basically. I'm paraphrasing, but he was talking about how Arsenal were really dominant, how Arsenal were really physical, how Arsenal, basically, PSG just couldn't get to the second balls. PSG couldn't get near them. Arsenal were fitter, stronger. And he said it's something we need to improve on. And Arsenal really dominating this. Look, more tackles, more interceptions, more recoveries, more clearances in a game where I thought we were comfortable and 1-2-0, we led the way for defensive stats. So I think that's got to set a tone a little bit for Arsenal. A reminder, let's dominate in that way. PSG have evolved a lot. And I've always been a big believer in football, in ultimately technique above everything, tech above everything. If PSG get on the ball and they play and they move that ball around and you can't get near them, you can't get near them. No player will run faster than the football can move. The problem is, for PSG, shall I say, is if they're not quite on it and Arsenal do impose themselves, that really disrupts their rhythm. And then Arsenal are suddenly having a lot of fun, there's a lot of space to run. It's a real shame that Declan Rice probably have to play the 6, because if you're playing the 8, then I think he'd be absolutely tearing through them. I still think in Erdegaard, Lewis Skelly, you've got plenty who can carry, mainly Lewis Skelly, but you've got Trossard who can drop in that space. You've got a wide players in Saka and Martinelli. So I think we can definitely do some damage there. When you compare that to what they did against PSG, against Aston Villa, away. Again, most of Villa's attack was down the left, which was interesting, not down the right. But again, they were slightly more dominant. No, they weren't. Sorry, they were dominant in these stats, but they weren't defensively. Again, Villa actually won this game 3-2. Managed to come out for things like aerial duels and dribbles. Much more on that front as well. Interestingly, more even here. Just have a little look at what happened against Liverpool. Again, I just want to have a little look at this. Again, SofaScore's great. There's a lot of really, really good data here. Obviously, PSG won this game. Let's have a little look. Liverpool attacked more down the left. PSG attacked more down the right. That's interesting. And if I think against Aston Villa, if I'm not mistaken, I think they attacked. No, it's pretty even. It was pretty even. Right, back to this. So look at some of the defensive numbers here. Here we go. So actually, there we go. Yeah. PSG got on top of Liverpool defensively with ground duels, aerial duels, and dribbles. I know we kind of make a joke with Mikel Arteta and the whole, if I lose a duel, I'm upset. Remember that clip that did the rounds from All or Nothing, the Amazon documentary? But it's a major part of the game. And if you let PSG dominate in this area like they did against Liverpool, which you wouldn't have expected them to, it's actually something they've talked about in the build-up to this game, that, everyone said that we wouldn't be able to live with Liverpool's midfield, blah, 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 and we did. I think that's a big part of the game. I think it's part of the narrative going into it that PSG players and Luis Enrique are coming with. It's part of the narrative that Luis Enrique ran with after we beat them 2-0. And it's a part of something that Arsenal and Arteta have always really, really focused on. It's winning duels and dominating that part of the game. So I'm really interested to see if Arsenal can get on top of these numbers. If these numbers are in our favour, I think we've got a good chance of winning this game, because that's how you then stop their midfield from playing and dominating. I think that's pretty much all I'm going to cover, really, everyone. Go through the super chats. Red Square says, I think we will miss Partey more than people think. He's player of the season for me. Timber and Gabriel are close too, but Partey's been available. Thoughts? I think it'll be a massive miss, but I think we can be okay without him. But I agree. I think he will be a massive miss, Red Square. Suge says, big up, James. I finally caught alive. Good to see you in the comments, Suge. I hope you are well. And yeah, there we go. We haven't talked about set pieces and all that, but I just want to talk about the tactical part of the game there. I just want to talk about the setups, in possession, out possession, the importance of winning duels and dominating on that side of things. I think it's going to be a massive, massive game in terms of its intensity. We know it's a massive game in terms of the occasion, but I think it'll be a massive game in terms of the intensity. I think it'll be a massive game in terms of the kind of energy. I think you'll see a little bit more bite in this than you saw between Arsenal and Real Madrid. I think Arsenal, there was a lot of focus on doing the job and actually almost just letting Real Madrid kind of trip up amongst themselves as well a little bit. Against PSG, I think we're going to try and really get stuck into them and disrupt their flow. And I think PSG might well try and bite back with that a little bit, knowing that it's a big part of why they beat Liverpool, is that they actually start to overrun them too. So there we go. As Ash says, excitement is building. And Jay, I see your comment. Yeah, I've been looking after myself. So thank you, Jay. I really, really appreciate the comment and you noticing. Thank you. But yeah, anyway, we're going to leave it there. Big thanks. I've really enjoyed this live stream. 33 minutes on Arsenal PSG. The nerves of kicking in. And if you're going, make a load of noise. And wherever you are around the world, support this team and let's get a big win. Big thanks, everyone. Really appreciate you all tuning in. Catch you very soon.